Men often choose to imagine a perfect world rather than to confront the thorn-ridden world that truly exists. Machiavelli once wrote so. Behind that brief sentence lies a naked truth. We always wish to believe in what is beautiful, yet life rarely bends itself to such illusions. And when we stubbornly cling to them, we become the most vulnerable of all. Machiavelli also reminds us, he who wishes always to act with goodness will inevitably bring about his own ruin. The words may sound cold, yet if you listen closely, you will discover in them not cruelty, but a bell of awakening. He does not deny the value of goodness, but only marks out its limits. Goodness cannot be the sole garment with which one faces a world of contradictions. And perhaps what has made Machiavelli most misunderstood lies here. He does not call upon us to live in falsehood, nor does he encourage us to become wicked. He only desires that we possess the courage to gaze directly at the nature of power, of human hearts, and of life itself. For only when you dare to abandon illusion can you truly preserve your freedom. In this journey, we shall step deeper into those fierce ideas. They may provoke dispute, even stir discomfort and doubt within you. Yet if you are brave enough to listen, you will come to see Machiavelli does not take away the light, but grants you the eyes to perceive the darkness. Let us begin at the root of a notion that has long been ingrained in the human mind, the notion of the good man. From the earliest days of life, men are taught that morality, kindness, and selflessness are the absolute compass. Virtue is praised, humility is exalted, and it is declared that if one perseveres in living gently, in the end society will recognize and reward him. Yet behind that seemingly noble shell hides a paradox. In reality, the standard of the good man not only lacks assurance, but may also become an invisible burden, binding men within a cage they do not even perceive. The gravest danger lies here. When you are too enamored with the image of the good man, you lose the flexible essence of yourself. You are no longer free to act by instinct or by your true interest, but are compelled to respond in the manner others expect. Every decision, every word, every action must be weighed against a single measure. Does this make me appear good in the eyes of others? And when judgment from the outside becomes your compass, you gradually lose the power to define yourself. Thus, the blind pursuit of the image of the good man turns you into a puppet. For the more you strive to preserve that facade, the more you must conceal your true instincts. You suppress anger, suppress resistance, suppress every inner impulse merely to protect your reputation. But the more you suppress, the more you are eroded from within. One day, the energy you have repressed will transform into dissatisfaction, into emptiness, and at times into hatred toward your very self. When Machiavelli said that, the ruler need not be truly good, but only appear good, he revealed a ruthless truth. What society respects is not essence, but image. And when you live solely to preserve the image of the good man, you become a pale copy, replaceable, forgettable. Meanwhile, those who dare to cast away the mask, who dare to act according to strategic principle, are those capable of forging true strength. The problem is this: most men do not realize they have been lulled into this trap. They believe that the kinder they are, the higher they stand above others. Yet in truth, unconditional kindness often reflects a hidden fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being disliked, fear of confronting conflict. And that fear is the very weakness that renders them so easily controlled. Imagine this: if you always choose silence to avoid conflict, that silence will, in the eyes of others, become consent. If you always accept loss to maintain harmony, then you are sending the message that your worth may be diminished. And as that message repeats itself, you cease to be an independent being and become merely a tool in the eyes of others. This is the hidden price that the excessively kind-hearted always pay, though they seldom dare to admit it. Deeper still, the image of the good man is a social mechanism maintained to restrain. For a society in which each man reveals his true nature, in which each dares to struggle for his own interest, is a society far more difficult to control. Therefore, from family to school, to the systems of belief, the message is ceaselessly reinforced. Be kind, be obedient, live for others. It is not merely a moral standard, but a tool of collective control. And when you submit wholly to it, You unwittingly surrender the power to determine your own life to forces outside yourself. Yet the truth is that no one can truly maintain the state of the absolutely good man. For in the depths of all men lie shadows, desires, impulses they dare not admit. And the more they deny that darkness, the more easily it devours them. This is why Machiavelli became such a controversial figure. He did not champion cruelty, he merely exposed the reality that human nature is never as pure as what we are taught. Here, the essential point is not that you must choose between good and evil. The core lies in freeing yourself from the illusion that to be good is enough. For as long as you hold to that illusion, you remain bound. You will be governed by glances, by praise and censure, by the judgments of others. And in that state, your life no longer belongs to you. What Machiavelli truly emphasized is this: to survive and to advance, man must learn to look directly into the real nature of society, not be deceived by massive morality. For only when you cast aside the shell of the absolutely good man can you begin to build true strength. If in the previous part we have recognized the danger of being absorbed solely in becoming the good man, then here we must go further, to analyze the mechanism by which such naivety causes man to lose his position and be crushed within the wheel of society. This is not pessimism, but a frank dissection of the way power operates. For if we do not dare to look directly at what truly takes place, we will forever live in the illusion that goodness alone is enough to protect us. The core of the matter lies here. Those who are too good often hold no autonomy in relationships or in social situations. What Machiavelli emphasized, and what made him branded as cruel, is the acknowledgement of a simple truth. Power does not belong to the most gentle, but to those who dare to act with the greatest effectiveness. When you confine yourself within the framework of goodness, you in effect relinquish the instrument of power and hand it to others. And from that moment onward, you are no longer free, but become a link led by the will of another. A fundamental mistake that the good often commit is to equate morality with strength. For this reason, what Machiavelli sought to warn us against was not the abandonment of morality, but the danger of allowing morality to become the cage that confines us. If you cling solely to the image of the good man, you bind your own hands and feet in a world where every relationship is governed by power and by interest. A man too afraid of being thought bad will not dare to make hard decisions, will not dare to speak the truth, will not dare to place his rightful interests upon the scale. Thus, little by little, he forfeits his voice. At a deeper level, the trap of striving to be the good man lies in the contradiction between image and essence. Outwardly, you strive to appear kind, selfless, virtuous, but inwardly, you harbor suffocation, anger, and a sense of injustice. That split drives you into self-deception. You act according to a standard your heart does not truly accept, only to preserve the noble image in the eyes of others. And that falseness will, sooner or later, exhaust you. Machiavelli understood this. Man is a complex creature, containing both light and shadow. When we deny our darkness, when we pretend that we are wholly virtuous, that darkness does not vanish. It is merely repressed and then seeps forth in more distorted forms: resentment, resignation, self-loathing. And at that very moment, you have lost true integrity, for you no longer dare to live honestly with both sides of your nature. Therefore, what is needed is not to become the good man in the absolute sense, but to become a man strong enough to choose when to be gentle and when to be firm. Such a man is not shackled by image, not haunted by the need to be loved by all. He knows that goodness has value only when it is accompanied by the capacity to defend, to set boundaries, and to safeguard his rightful interests. In Machiavelli's lens, the world is not a moral stage, but a chessboard of power. On that board, he who clings only to the moral code for himself will sooner or later be cast aside, not because morality is meaningless, but because morality holds weight only when upheld by power. If you possess strength yet choose to act with fairness, that is a choice worthy of respect. But if you lack strength and still wish to compel others to submit to your moral code, that is nothing but naivety. Such a vision may discomfort many, for it runs contrary to the moral lessons instilled since childhood. Yet that very discomfort is the sign that we are touching truth. The truth that to become a good man is not enough to survive and to flourish in a complex world. You require more. You require the clarity to avoid falling into the sweet trap of blind kindness. When we pursue the analysis to its end, we see this. The price of clinging stubbornly to absolute goodness is not reverence, but loss. Loss of voice, loss of position, loss even of inner freedom, and that is too high a price for a beautiful illusion that is hollow at its core. Thus, the message Machiavelli left us is not a cruel teaching, but an awakening warning. If you wish to preserve goodness, learn to be strong. If you wish to live justly, understand how power truly operates. For only when you possess both the capacity for kindness and the capacity for firmness can you escape the fetters of the good man's mask and begin to live a life that truly belongs to yourself. In the course of life, we are often taught lessons about humility, about living righteously, and about the necessity of preserving morality as an immutable value. Yet if we look closely at the actual workings of man and society, a paradox emerges clearly. These teachings, though adorned with noble appearance, often become a veil for those unwilling to face the truth. For in its deepest essence, power and influence have never been distributed equally to all, but have always belonged to those who dare to employ every instrument to achieve their ends. And this is precisely the crux that Machiavelli exposes. Strength does not arise from unconditional goodness, but from the deliberate seizing, controlling, and at times the manipulation of circumstance. This leads to a conclusion difficult to accept but undeniable. If you cling rigidly to the concept of being good as an absolute principle, you place yourself in a position of weakness. For kindness, when not accompanied by the capacity for defense and strategic offense, becomes an empty shell. It makes you easy to dismiss, easy to discard, and easy to be swept away by the waves of conflict you do not command. Here, Machiavelli does not condemn morality, but exposes the truth that morality has weight only when backed by strength. If we reflect more deeply, we see the danger of merely being good lies in this. It deceives us into believing that sincerity and kindness alone will cause the order of society to protect us. But society does not function so. Power is a ruthless contest where fragile balance is ever threatened by ambition and intrigue. In that contest, he who dares not confront the darker side soon becomes prey to another. This is not a pessimistic assertion, but a cold observation. All men wish to be regarded as upright, yet not all possess the courage to do what is necessary when that uprightness is imperiled. For this reason, Machiavelli stresses the ability to see and to see what moves behind conventions, and to know how to adjust oneself so as not to be imprisoned by artificial frameworks. He who only knows how to do good becomes bound within the endless cycle of others' expectations, whereas he who understands that strength and morality are twin pillars will discover how to remain standing, not only in times of fortune, but also amidst chaos. From here, a clear principle arises. To avoid being overthrown, man must learn to balance image and substance. The image of a virtuous man may earn you trust, but if it is not secured by the substance of inner strength, it will collapse sooner or later. Machiavelli compels us to confront this unpleasant truth. In the real world, no one exists by image or by pure morality alone. The wise are those who know how to turn these into instruments, not shackles. Looking deeper, we see that goodness, if severed from vigilance, leads to naivety. And naivety, in a world of schemes, is synonymous with defeat. Thus, the lesson is not to reject morality, but to break free from the sanctification of morality. For once we sanctify it, we lose the ability to perceive its shadow, and in that blindness, we become captives of our own belief. Machiavelli's perspective, though harsh, opens the door to liberation. It reminds us that survival does not belong to those who are better, but to those who understand more clearly and prepare more thoroughly. If you dare to gaze upon the mechanism of power, you will realize that kindness, to hold value, must be upheld by strength, and only then can goodness truly endure, rather than be crushed beneath the ambition of others. This means you cannot walk only one path. If you choose to live solely with goodness, you will become but a shadow of yourself in this world. But if you choose to tread on both sides, preserving a core of virtue while cultivating firmness, you enter the game of power in a different position. It is the position of one who is respected for character and at the same time feared for strength. When we delve into the world of Machiavelli's thought, we encounter another crucial point he sought to emphasize. Power is never a static condition. It is always in motion, ever shifting, and always demanding that its holder be flexible enough to adapt. For this reason, Machiavelli warns that those who stubbornly cling to a single mode of conduct, whether a virtue or a vice, will soon be cast aside. For this world allows no permanence. It favors only those who can read the current of events and bend themselves to its flow. At the deepest level, this means that wisdom lies not in loyalty to a rigid rule, but in the ability to shift continuously between attitudes, approaches, and strategies. He who knows when to be gentle and when to be severe, when to remain silent and when to act decisively, such a one is able to endure. In contrast, he who insists upon keeping a single posture, a single method, will soon be crushed by the ceaseless changes of circumstance. This perspective, once absorbed, makes us see the fragility of the notions to which we often cling. We like to believe that by following a straight line, we will eventually reach our destination. Yet in reality, that line may lead us to an abyss, for the world is never flat. It twists and winds, filled with detours, sudden turns, and overlapping contradictions. And if we refuse to alter ourselves to move through those bends, we will be left behind. Looking further, we find that Machiavelli's thought speaks not only of politics, but of the nature of existence itself. Life in his eyes is not a simple chess match, but an endless current in which no path remains fixed. To survive, man must learn both to steer his vessel and to adjust it to the storms, never hoping that the waves will cease simply because he wishes them to. If we remain still, trusting in eternal calm, it is at that very moment that we will be submerged. What Machiavelli left us is not merely counsel for rulers, but a mirror in which we may behold ourselves. We see clearly that rigidity, naivety, or obstinate attachment to a single model all lead toward ruin. In contrast, flexibility, awakening, and acceptance that the world is not always as we desire, these are the means by which we endure. This vision may bring unease, for it compels us to abandon the psychological crutches that once gave us safety. Yet that very unease is proof that we have stepped out of illusion. Reality, though harsh, is the only ground upon which we may build strength. And once we accept this, we are no longer the naive who believe in permanence, but become those who know how to turn with the flow. For Machiavelli, the greatest strength lies not in holding forever to a principle, but in the capacity to depart from it when it no longer serves. This is the wisdom of flexibility, a wisdom not easily gained, for it requires us to break the safe molds and the long-rooted beliefs we have clung to. Yet only in so doing may we truly seize mastery of our fate, rather than remain the victims of that very rigidity we once mistook for virtue. After passing through the sharp layers of Machiavelli's thought, we come to realize that the essence of power and existence is never straight, nor ever simple. He compels us to look directly at the truth. Life is a continuous arena of struggle, where the unchanging are devoured, and only those who know how to adapt, how to bend, have the strength to go on. What we often regard as eternal moral law, in Machiavelli's light, proves to be but a temporary instrument. True strength does not come from clinging forever to a single belief, but from the ability to withdraw, to adjust, and to choose the right posture for the right moment. It is this flexibility that frees us from the trap of rigidity and opens the path to genuine freedom. Machiavelli's message is not to make us cold or cruel, but to remind us that if we wish to stand firm against the current of change, we must learn to master transformation. When we accept that life is paradox, only then can we turn paradox into strength, and from it, forge our own destiny. If these ideas awaken something within you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you will not miss other profound explorations of philosophy and psychology. Together, we shall continue the journey of uncovering ideas powerful enough to change life itself.